Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We will get started shortly, but just want to make a call for public comment. Thank you for those joining us in the boardroom today in person. If you have a public comment, there are comment cards in the back of the room. Please complete one and bring it up front. If you're on the Zoom platform for public comment, please make sure to raise your hand and we'll go through our raised hands now so we can prepare before the meeting. Our first hand raise is caller Audit LA. If you could please unmute yourself and let us know if you have general public comment or comment on our agenda items.
Good morning, everyone. I would like, because this is the last day, right, where you can comment on everything. So let's do it, including public comment, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next hand raised is caller Mona M. Would you like to provide general public comment today or comment on any of our agenda items?
General public comment, please.
Thank you, caller. And the last hand raise I see today is caller Phil Anderson. You could go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know if you have general public comment or comment on any items.
Yes. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Agenda items, all agenda items, and then public comment as well, general public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next hand raised is Amy's iPhone. If you could go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know if you have general public comment today or comment on any agenda items.
The all items in general public comment.
Okay, great, thank you. I see another hand raised before we get started. Gigi, caller Gigi, you can unmute yourself and let us know if you have general public comment or comment on an item today.
Public comment, and then I think it's number 7, the rule change one.
Number 7, yes, thank you.
Yep.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Public Works meeting for Wednesday, November 13th. Ms. Devin Zatorsky, if you want to get us started.
Great. Good morning, everyone. We are now in record mode, so let's officially start at exactly 10 a.m. Good morning, all. Thank you for joining us. Devin Zatorsky with the Board of Public Works, taking roll and establishing quorum. Today we have President Corsan, Vice President Chavez, Commissioner Grant, and Commissioner Mitchell all present, and we have a quorum. President Corsan, we're also joined by our City Attorney Representative, Miss Virginia Choi. We do have speaker cards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 under general public comment, and we have speakers requesting to speak on all items on today's agenda, and we have no neighborhood council commentary. And for the record as well, we received public comment via our Google form on item number 4 to read that for the record. But that is what we have today.
Okay, we have 18 agenda items. Similar to last Wednesday, we're going to take a 5-minute break at 11:30. But we'll start with item number 1, which is the approval of the minutes from October 25th. Is there a second to my motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, there's a first by myself and a second from President Pro Tem John Grant.
Great, let's take roll. We'll start with you, President Corsan.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
Commissioner Grant.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful, all ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Okay, and with that, we will move into public comment.
All right, all our public comment are via the Zoom platform today, so we'll get started.
Before we get there, thank you. I thought there was someone in the room, but let me read our little statement here. Any opportunity to address the Board of Public Work on public interest items will be covered for up to 2 minutes per person for a cumulative 2 minutes. Testimony shall be limited in content to matters which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. The board may not take any action on matters discussed during the public comment period. And if you are outside of the realm of public works or off topic, our city attorney, Virginia Choi, will remind you to stay on topic. And with that, we'll open up general public comment.
Thank you for reading that, President Corsan. All right, we'll move to our Zoom platform. Our first hand raised is caller Audit LA. You will have 2 minutes for general public comment.
Good morning, commissioners and everyone. I want to start off with, I sent a video to Mr. Knight. I don't know if it reached all of the commissioners. If not, I would hope that you would please ask him to send it to you, because it was on L. Ron Hubbard Way. There was a senior gentleman, very frail, blind, like the white cane, with the white cane to be able to get around, and he needed the assistance of another seemingly frail senior citizen to cross the street of L. Ron Hubbard Way. The problem was there was a lot of barriers and those planters, and he had a very difficult time. And when he was crossing the street, it was very narrow, like between the planters. And when he got across to try to get up between the planters, he didn't have a whole lot of room. We were all like, I'm just cringing watching it, heartbroken for this man. But just like how hard it is for him to get around and navigate streets. And you're not expecting like planters that are so close together that you could barely get by. He could have just tripped and fallen so easily, and he was so frail. Like I'm at the point where enough's enough. I respect that you guys have been, I believe, putting citations to them, but they're just thumbing their nose at all of us. It has to end. I believe it was sent to the city attorney. Well, what are they doing? These planners need to go. It's a hazard. It's not just that it keeps me from coming, and going. But this is if you watch this video and you will see that this was, how bad it really is. I also know you don't have a lot of inspectors to go inspect what's going on. I'm happy to be your inspector for free. I'll do it. I'll go and film it for you so you can see what's going on with everything. They're also doing these holiday lights.
Thank you, caller. That's 2 minutes.
Thank you.
All right, our next caller with their hand raised is caller Mona M. You'll have 2 minutes for general public comment.
Good morning. Hello, Board of Public Works. It's me again, Mona. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I would like to remind you of your governmental duty to obey and uphold all ordinances, aka the planners and the permits on L. Ron Hubbard Way. Through CPR request, I see the board had referred this matter to the city attorney's office. I remind you that you have the authority to hold Scientology accountable for their refusal to abide by your citation and orders to remove the planners. As per your ordinance, you have the right and role and obligation to remove the planners and backbill the organization, waiting for the compromised city attorney to figure out what she thinks she should do with the situation, leaves the planners there and in direct violation of city, state, and federal law. Do the right thing. Thank you. I yield back my time.
Thank you. Next caller is Phil Anderson. If you could unmute yourself, you'll have 2 minutes for general public comment.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to bring the board's attention to a recent email from your chief of the Department of Public Works, Gary Harris. And I just want to do my due diligence in educating this board as well as address some of the comments that your chief made, particularly where he said, the fact that this group does not like the events is not an actionable issue. I am happy to discuss Gary. Now, Mr. Gary Harris should understand that a criminal act of all manner is, in fact, an actionable offense. And you, Miss Deputy City Attorney, have the responsibility to act. And moreover, following in the comments of the last two members of the public, you do have the power to issue criminal charges, just like you've issued criminal charges bogusly, I might add, to Michael Del Mar, the husband of Serge Del Mar, who is a child born and raised into Scientology and barely escaped by the skin of his teeth. And if you can harass and intimidate those protesters, then I think you can at least do the due diligence and issue criminal charges against Scientology. So don't come at the public with this bullshit that you can't do anything and that's not an actionable issue. It's a fucking criminal offense. So do your job and prosecute. Or is it something to do with the fact that anybody that's a child predator, of which 2 are known Scientologists, and your own LAPD lieutenant outed you out and specifically stated that you are refusing to prosecute charges on known Scientologists because they aren't Scientologists? So which is it? Is it that you're so incompetent you can't even do your job, or that you're refusing to prosecute just because? Which the fuck is it? It is
2
an
minutes.
actionable offense.
Thank you, caller. Our next caller is Amy. If you could unmute yourself, you'll have 2 minutes for general public comment.
Hi. I'm going to reiterate everything that your previous caller said. You're enabling people. I just really think that you all are probably getting money from the cult of Scientology. That we even seen pictures of Heidi Soto with people that are known Scientologists. So that looks like really a lot of impropriety. Also, in addition to the planters, I have to make a comment about your fire lanes not being open. We have seen Scott Hochstetter documenting the fact that there's not a proper opening to let fire trucks in. And when he went to the fire station, which is station 35, to complain, they wouldn't even answer the phone when and saying that they didn't even have a proper phone to report the problem, and that they had then they go that they were there 3 weeks ago to assess the situation. It was all right. But you believe these people? They have lied to your faces. And how could the fire agency or the fire department be closed because they're a safe haven place? What if someone was dropping off a baby? Are they not going to answer the phone if someone's leaving a newborn? They have to answer the phone at these fire stations 24/7, and that's just an excuse because you're probably being safe pointed and influenced by a cult. We all know that. Don't you know we know what you're involved with? Give it a break. Just do the right thing. everybody's watching you. The whole country sees what you guys are about. You're in such a bubble. Get out of that bubble, because you're looked at as fools by going along with this garbage that you're putting up with their lawlessness. No one else would get away with it. Bye.
Thank you, caller. Our next general public comment is Gigi on the Zoom. If you can unmute yourself, you'll have 2 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So about the planners, this has been going on for so long. You guys did something with violations, possibly. I don't know, but there's been no action. We keep bringing it up, and there's so many hours of footage, almost daily, of the specific area that we're talking about. It's been well documented on several different channels. So it's not just one point of view. There's several, like hours and hours endlessly. They don't take care of these plants and the planters anyways. So I don't know why they're trying to say it's to like beautify the area. I walk down there and every single planter has weeds in it. It looks disgusting. I was asking neighbors, what do you think about these planters? They were saying they were ugly. It would look better without them. So, like, why are they still there on any level? There's nothing positive about them. They're not supposed to be there. I talked to the nail place where their planters somehow magically got removed in front of their business. I said, how did you get them removed? They said, I don't know. They just were gone one day. Well, how about like tomorrow we wake up and they're all gone? Like all these 251 planters, like just magically poof. Like, please get rid of these planters.
Thank you, caller. All right, President Corsan, that's the end of our Zoom public comments. I believe we have an in-person one.
Yes, we have one public comment card for in-person, Mike Greenspan.
Mike Greenspan. Yes, we've got basically a new board. And already, was it first or second meeting? Steve Kang, not here, getting paid $100,000 a year not to show up. Isn't that wonderful? This is the only board that pays. Oh, I wanted to thank Vahi Khorsand, excuse my mispronunciation, for getting a couple of a jigsaw piece, and that's a half pothole, and a pothole covered, but they still need to actually repave Satakoy at Lancashire. They went and repaved, believe it or not, Vose over there at Lancashire and Vose. The biggest thing at Lancashire and Vose was a pot shop that was illegal and it's been closed down years ago. You go to the other end of Vose at Laurel Canyon, it's homeless encampments. That's a street that really didn't need repaving. What really needs repaving, Satakoy, Strathern, those streets. I mean, full repaving, not filling in a couple potholes or whatever. You guys just don't get it. I mean, we're the neglected end of District 2. Nobody seems to care. I mean, Studio City, they get everything, but we get nothing. We're a stone's throw from Council District 6. And I hear you guys are wanting to cut down on our time. How can you be that way? I mean, it's not the sexy issue here of abortion and all that other stuff that the presidential campaign. Nobody would get here if it wasn't for you guys. There wouldn't be sidewalks, there wouldn't be street lights, there wouldn't be roads, there wouldn't be water, there wouldn't be anything. I mean, we would look like that picture of horse and buggy days if it wasn't for the Board of Public Works. But I expect them to do their job, and I expect us to get our services
Thank you,
too.
Speaker. 2 minutes.
Okay, and with that, we will close general public comment for today's meeting, and we'll move into item number 1, which is from BOE and covers Council District 11, revised budget and issue change order number 73 for Murray Plumbing and Heating, DBA Murray Company. We will open public comment for this item, and just as a reminder for our public commenters, the board You can give public comment on the agenda item for up to 2 minutes per person for a cumulative of 10 minutes. And our city attorney, Virginia Choi, will ensure that you stay on topic. We'll start with in-person public comment. We have one public comment card from Mike Greenspan.
Mike Greenspan. Okay. As I say, you guys, if it wasn't for you, none of this would happen. The water reclamation thing. Yes, another almost $600,000, 578,000 additional contingency. We've already put in 29,252,000 for capital improvements. And now are we once again doing those cost overrun things? I mean, everything seems to be a cost overrun. You need to give some, what I call wiggle room in the budget, or I call it an oops fund. So you don't have to come back every time something goes wrong or you've miscalculated. But you've got, I'm not talking about a blank check, but I'm talking about a little bit of room. So when your calculations are off, and I've noticed this all around town, whether it be a public project or a private project, cost overruns. Cost overruns are everywhere. Even when you look at the thing for the Bradbury building, I think it was double the cost, and that's private. So I really think that we should be doing a lot better mathematics. People's math just is not what it should be. People get places in this world with the mentality of, oh, but I have checks. And you try to tell them it's not the checks you have, it's the amount that's behind the checks in the account. We seem to have this feeling that money grows on trees. And if you don't believe me, just go down the hall when they're back in session next week to City Council. Here we are in the midst of a multi-million-dollar, what was it last year, $450 million budget deficit, and they were still spending like there was no tomorrow. You need to quit spending when that happens. I mean, it should be wait till next fiscal year when you just don't have the money.
Okay. Ms. Zatorsky, do we have any virtual hands raised?
Yes, we have 3 caller Audit LA. You will have up to 2 minutes for item number 1.
Hi, if I'm not mistaken, this is the place that looks like a Disneyland ride. Without the ride, my suggestion is the same. Have Disney come in, make it a little ride. Put the little, not roller coaster thing, but like the level roller coaster thing to go around to do the tour, because it's like a museum Disney tour. And
Caller, this is regarding item number 1, regarding a change order for Murray Plumbing.
right, it's
and
about
Heating.
Hyperion though, right? So I'm trying to tell you how to get the extra money. Don't cut into my time because I know I'm on point. Okay, and so you have Disney put in the extra money that you need for this thing by letting them add like something Disney-esque, like a ride or something, makes it more interesting for the community, and then you get your money so it doesn't come out of our budget. Thank you. I reserve the rest of my time, and don't take my time, Ms. Choi.
Thank you, it was paused. Next hand raised is Phil. You will have up to 2 minutes for item number 1.
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
So my comment on this item is my general frustration on the fact that there is no CIS report. The community impact statements, while we see FISs being taken on just about every single one of these motions, it's very clear that feedback is not being solicited from the very constituents and stakeholders that this SIP, as well as any other SIP, really doesn't matter, regardless if it's a $500 million project or not, regardless of how many change orders there are or not. There's no feedback being solicited from any of the 99 neighborhood councils. You have 99 to pick from. You can't, and you're telling me not even one can be bothered to be asked for feedback and to give them the proper time so that they can properly submit and go through the process to submit a CAS. These community impact statements are the lifeblood of the constituents that you serve. Yes, that you serve. Not lead, but serve. It's their voices. And time again, this motion repeatedly, as well as any other capital improvement projects, repeatedly go without any solicitation of feedback from neighborhood councils to see how it impacts them. You have your BFC committee writing FISs, yet on that same agenda item, blank where it's the CIS report. How can you possibly vote in any good faith without having the voice of the constituents that you serve? Why is nobody soliciting the feedback of the neighborhood councils? It's very easy. I've attended all their meetings. It takes maybe 5 minutes at most. And I think your six-figure salaries make you, at the very least, I would hope, competent enough to click a Zoom meeting so that you can at least solicit their feedback. Or maybe even better, send an email. They're very willing to listen and work with you. But you have to actually
That's
do the
2
work
minutes.
and
Thank you,
solicit
caller.
feedback.
All right, our next caller for item 1 is Amy. Amy, would you like to provide comment on item number 1?
Yeah, it'll be quick. As far as the community impact statements, again, on what the previous caller was talking about, I don't approve you with the budget. You could have fined the water department or fined the water waste that they did on L. Ron Hubbard Way when they had the encampment. They wasted hundreds of thousands of gallons of water, where you could have enforced the law and fined them, and then you'd have more money in the budget. So I yield back my time, but you really have to do more about this cult that is taking advantage of you, and you need to hear the community impact statement on how they're doing what they want to do, but the people in the community can't water their lawns when they want. I yield back my time.
Thank you, caller. All right, President Corsan, that is the end of our public comment on item number 1.
Great, thank you. We will close public comment from item number 1, and we will now hear from Ethan Wong from BOE.
Good morning, everyone. Congratulations to the new commissioners on your appointments. My name is Ethan Wong. I'm the division manager for the Bureau of Engineering's Environmental Engineering Division. Our role within the Bureau is to design and provide project management and construction management services, largely for our 4 water reclamation plants that the city owns and operates. The report before you pertains to the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant and 2 projects that were awarded as a singular contract on April 26, 2017 by the board to Murray Plumbing and Heating, doing business as Murray Company, in the amount of $25,879,213, with a contingency amount of $1,294,787, for a total budget of just over $27 million. So the scope of work for these 2 projects, known as the Headworks Odor Control Upgrade, as well as the Headworks Improvement Projects, I will just be focusing on the odor control project, as the Headworks Improvement Project was completed as phase 1 of this contract back in 2019. The report largely is pertaining to the odor control project, which started after that. So the scope of the project was to demolish existing 5 chemical scrubbers and 3 carbon scrubbers, which provided odor control for the Headworks facility at Hyperion. The Headworks facility is where the influent enters the plant and is screened of debris. This creates a lot of odors that need to be taken care of by the plant. This was done through a chemical process, which used costly chemicals and also put workers at risk due to the corrosiveness of these chemicals. It was thought to, a better project would be to create this sustainable project using a new biotrickling filter and 8 carbon scrubbers to remove the hydrogen sulfide that does come out and cause the odors. So the biotrickling filter is a large concrete structure that basically has sponge-like structures inside of it. Microbes exist on the sponge-like structures. Water is trickled down from the top while the odorous gas comes in from the bottom. The microbes then digest the hydrogen sulfide, removing 98% of the odors from the air, and then the final 2% is scrubbed by the carbon scrubbers. This is a much more sustainable process, and thus the reason it was built at the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant. In July of 2011, or July 11th, 2021, sorry, there was a flood that occurred at the plant that caused some impact to the construction of this facility. This caused us to come back to the board in December of 2021 for some additional contingency of $1.5 million to mitigate cleanup efforts around this project. There has continued to be some impacts from that date due to extended efforts and impacts, unforeseen impacts because of the spill. There's extended use of a temporary carbon scrubber, which needed to be in line while we were constructing the biotrickling filter and installing the permanent carbon scrubbers. This provided extra cost to the project or caused extra cost to the project. In addition, the rental of the actual temporary carbon scrubber itself and delays resulting from that, as well as additional electrical and concrete work that had to be done. These work were presented to the city as change order requests by the contractor Murray Company. It took several months for a negotiation based on the amounts that were presented. We finally concluded our negotiations with Murray Company and will, with the board's authorization, issue a closeout change order, closing out all disputed items on the contract for $650,000. To do this, we require two authorizations for the board, from the board. The first being to raise the budget amount by $577,908.66 and add that to our contingency, and then authorize us to issue change order 73, which will be the final closeout change order and resolve all disputes on the contract. The funds for this project come from the Sewer Construction and Maintenance Fund and will not impact the general fund. And that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions related to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Commissioners, do we have any questions, comments on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved, Mitchell.
Second.
Thank you. President Pro Tem Grant, you need to move a little bit faster there. Commissioner Mitchell, Ms. Zatorsky was first, and President Pro Tem Grant with the second. If you could take the vote, please.
Got it. President Corsand?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez? Aye. President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell?
Aye.
Wonderful. All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wong.
Thank you.
Sit down for a moment. We'll call you back up for your next item. But we'll move on to item number 2, which is also from Bureau of Engineering in Council District 14, Task Order Solicitation number 84 for Arcadis. Oh, that's for us, but we're going to take virtual public comment. I don't see a public comment card for in person. Ms. Zatorsky, do we have any virtual hands raised?
We do. We have 3 virtual hands raised. Our first virtual hand raise is caller Audit LA. If you could go ahead, you'll have 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes for item 2.
Very briefly, I agree with the other caller that says, about soliciting CISs and getting more involvement for the neighborhood councils. But like the package that you have is like 1,300 pages, and getting that out 3 days in advance, and then everything's out 3 days in advance. It makes it really impossible for the community and the neighborhood councils to really get involved. So I do support all of that. I yield back the rest of my time.
Thank you, caller. Our next caller is Phil. You could go ahead and unmute yourself. You'll have 2 minutes.
I just have 2 points to make on this agenda item. First and foremost, it is known that your city engineers at the Bureau of Engineering, in fact, are physically constructing the infrastructure of LA while working remotely. Make that one make sense. How is it that you have a city engineer at that doesn't even live in the area and is somehow involved in all the decision making? You're talking about somebody making $300K and they don't even live in the area that they're being the engineer of. So, second item is, how is it that for this motion, yet again involving a SIP, that you are not soliciting feedback from any of the 99 neighborhood councils? And I would hope for those remote working city engineers that they can spend part of that time and part of that $300K plus salary annually to dial into a Zoom call and solicit feedback from the constituents that they are serving and actually have them be provided with information and enough time such that they can submit a CIS report. Do your job, solicit feedback from your constituents, and help them make that CIS report so you can actually vote in confidence and knowing you've done due diligence to vote properly on these items. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, caller. Our next caller is Amy's. I'm sorry. If you have commentary on item number 2, you'll have 2 minutes.
It will be brief. I'm going to reiterate what the two previous commenters said. However, I'm going to add that it's not fair that you stuff a lot of stuff into these agenda items and not giving people a chance to review it like your neighborhood councils. Also, it sort of reminds me when Congress has a bill that they're trying to push, and they stuff all this stuff into it. It's like it's so sneaky and so underhanded that people don't even have a chance to read anything over. It's just so unfair. It's so authoritarian. It's like, is this America anymore? That like people don't have it. This is not what our system has been made up to be. We just had an election. Maybe, didn't this remind you that we have things that we have to look at and let people have a democratic process? You're not even doing that. I yield back my time.
Thank you, caller. All right, President Corsan, that is the end of our public comment for item 2.
Great. We will close public comment for item number 2 and call up Jen Wen from BOE.
Morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jin Wen, civil engineer and project manager from Bureau of Engineering. The item before you is to issue task order solicitation number 84 to Arcadis to provide various engineering services toward the rehabilitation of the San Pascual pumping plant 602 project. The San Pascual pumping plant is located in Highland Park within Council District 14, north of 110 Freeway, adjacent to the LA River. The structure is actually below the street level, away from public view. The pumping plant was constructed in 1968 as a fuel withdrawal pumping plant, consisting of a dry well with the injector inside and a control room. The way this facilitates work is by filling the wastewater in the injector at lower level and use pumps to discharge the flow to a higher elevation. This pumping plant, the flow is discharged into a force main, into a maintenance hole that is connected to a local 8-inch sewer. Over the years, the pumping plant has received its shares of upgrades and rehabilitations to ensure consistent, uninterrupted services. However, the injector and other essential components in this pumping plant are nearing or exceeding their service lives. And outdated, they have become obsolete, therefore they need replacement and upgrades. To address these issues, this project will include demolition, procurement, replacement, and the installation of the pumping plant's mechanical, electrical, communication, instrumentation, and control systems, as well as some civil and structural improvements. Temporary bypass and traffic control are also part of the project. Due to the extensive and the complex work required, the Bureau of Engineering has solicited consultant services with the proper expertise needed for this project. The TAS 84 was issued to all 24 consulting firms on the pre-qualified on-call wastewater and the environmental engineering services consultant list. 3 proposals were received. They are from Arcadis, Atkins, and Geosyntax. Based on the careful review of the submitted documents, Arcadius was selected as the firm most qualified for this pumping plan and will provide the best value to the city. This task order is also subject to the city's business inclusion program. Arcadius has pledged MBE participation level of 28.26%, WBE of 10.74%, SBE of 39%, EBE of 39%, and OBE of 5.65%. Overall, about 45% of the work is being provided through subconsultants who qualify under the business inclusion program. There's no impact to the general fund. The total funding for this task, 84, is not to exceed 849,342 and available through the sewer capital fund and wastewater system commercial B construction fund. In view of this above fundings, we found the proposal by Arcadius reasonable and the best value for the city, and recommend the board that authorize the city engineer to issue the task number 84 to Arcadius. This concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions or comments? Vice President Chavez.
Just a quick question. This item is for consultant work for pre-design, design, and design support. Who's doing the actual construction for the underlying project?
Once we complete the pre-design and design, we'll come back to the board to recommend award to another contractor to the construction.
I see. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, we have a first from Vice President Chavez and a second from Commissioner Grant.
Grant or Mitchell? Mitchell. It was Mitchell or Grant?
Mitchell.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry. President Corson, I'll take the roll. President Corson.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful. All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3 from Bureau of Engineering in Council District 9, Construction Services Contract Capital Improvement Project 8702, Pumping Plant 701 Panel Replacement Project. Don't think we have any public comment for this item here. Oh, we do. Oh, you're right, we do. Mike Greenspan.
Little clerical error. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to say, since we've got a new board president, could we change this procedure? Instead of us speaking first, why don't we let the people talk about their project first? Then I could, with this pen, take some notes and have more intelligent input. The last speaker answered a question I could even use for here, that the project was done in '68. And as we look at this project, we know everything has a certain life to it, economic life or whatever you want to call it. And so this pumping plant, when was over here in Council District 9 for $403,000, 701 panel replacement, when was it put in there before? How long are we getting for these items, these capital improvement items or whatever they are, if it's not a building? How long are we getting use out of it? So the last project, 56 years, and now we're doing another. I'm just trying to get an idea as we look at these things. Are we getting good use out of it? And we should know by age. That should probably prioritize it. If Commissioner Corson were to sell his house and his house were 25 years old and I was to buy it and he were to say it's got the original roof, even without looking at it, I could say it probably needs to be replaced. It's 25 years old because the roof is about 20 years and anything after that's gravy. on houses. Well, we should look at projects, our capital improvement projects, in the same way. If it's a certain age, we should be prioritizing it, and we want the speakers first to have their input so we can be more intelligent on the project.
Okay, we'll move to any virtual hands raised on item number 3.
Yes, we'll start with Audit LA. Audit LA, you'll have up to 2 minutes on item 3.
Yes, this is an interesting one for me, and I will be making relevant comparisons, Ms. Troy. Okay, so you're looking to remove trees on the public easement, right? So, and then planting new trees to assist whatever
Speaker, we are on
developer.
item number 3 at the
Which
moment.
one's that? That's not the one about the tree removal? Am I on board? Did I skip ahead? Oh, then let me skip this one. I want the one with the tree removal.
All right, we'll go to the next caller.
Yeah, I'll pass for this one.
Caller Phil Anderson, you'll have 2 minutes on item number 3.
I just want to make 2 points on this. It's number one, it would be imperative that we hear the presentation, and specifically to have the presenters be limited on the time, which is actually something that every other board does. You can take a look at the police commissioners. They time each speaker as well as the ones giving the presentation, so not just members of the public. For days like this where there's 18 items, that's why the speakers as well as the general public all have limitations on their presentation, but it's important to have the speakers doing the work on the item give their speech first so that we can make an intelligent discussion and conclusion afterwards. Second of all, this yet again is another agenda item for CD9 where I see no CIS. There's a FIS from your BFC committee, which is wonderful, but again, no feedback from your constituents has been solicited in any way, shape, or form, neither by the council member, nor by the board, nor by the BOE, and it's imperative to have those community impact statements prior to the discussion and voting on such agenda items. And I know you can do it, and you can attend it virtually. So those are my comments on this item. Thanks.
Thank you, caller. Caller Mark, you'll have 2 minutes for item number 3.
Oh, I want to speak on general comment, please.
General public comment has been closed for this meeting.
Oh, what item 3 is then?
Item 3 is on the construction of capital improvement project at the pumping plant replacement.
Oh, never mind. I'm good. Scientology is a cult, though.
Okay.
And kids.
Caller Amy, you will have, sorry, let me reset this. Amy, you will have 2 minutes on item number 3.
It'll be brief. I'm going to reiterate what one of the previous callers said, that you need to get community impact statements on anything that you're going to do. I also want to know how much of an impact that you got from the Scientology church, because they seem to have a lot of pull in what's going on in the city, and that it's a cult, and you guys are just getting too much influence
capital
by.
improvement project.
Well, capital improvement projects all have to do with a cult that's not paying its taxes, that you let them get away with a lot of stuff, and that I'm sure that they have some statements on what's going on
This
in the
is regarding
community.
the pumping
Bye.
plant.
Okay, bye.
All right, President Corsan, that is the end of our public comment on item 3.
Great, thank you. Public comment for item number 3 is now closed. We'll go to our presentation from Mr. Ethan Wong.
Good morning once again. This is Ethan Wong with the Bureau of Engineering's Environmental Engineering Division. The project before you, known as Pumping Plant 701, panel replacement, is housed at the South Los Angeles Wetlands Park, which is a cherished recreational area that is well used by many local residents. It features a walking path and 3 sustainably designed treatment wetland cells. These wetland cells are fed with water diverted from nearby subsurface storm drains for treatment to improve the water quality before it returns back into the storm drain system. The water supply is provided by a sophisticated system including pumps, a motor control center, a switchgear, a local control panel, and an uninterruptible power supply unit. And these are all located in an area at the park's northwest corner, which is known as Pumping Plant 701. A couple of months ago, it was discovered that the water level in the wetland cells was lowering, and the wetland cells were basically drying up. This concerned many of the park visitors. It was discovered that there was some vandalism at the pumping plant, destroying basically the local control panel, which controls the pumps and the water levels within the wetland cells, as well as the UPS, or the uninterruptible power supply system. This project will look to basically replace these components. So my division will be doing some control systems design on this, and we will be installing new components so that the local control panel and the UPS function properly, and thus providing continued enjoyment of these valued community asset and improving the water quality in the area. We are requesting that, because it's an urgent necessity matter, this project be issued to our Cisco contract, or the construction services contract, for a total amount of $403,000. Funds for this project come from the Stormwater Pollution Abatement Funds, which are on-call emergency funds, or used for on-call emergency events such as this. That concludes my report, and happy to answer any questions regarding this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Commissioners, do we have any questions, comments on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion on this item?
So move.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Grant. Do we have a second?
Mitchell.
Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, we have a first from President Pro Tem Grant and a second from Commissioner Mitchell.
Great. We'll take the roll call, starting with you, President Corson.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Okay, all ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Wong.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 4 from Bureau of Street Services and CD5, a tree removal at 10451 Sandal Lane. Mr. Ramirez, hold on one second. We're going to take public comment. We'll start with Mike Greenspan.
Save you some time. Do we want to set the clock? There, otherwise, I could steal extra seconds. Hey, can we start it from the top, please? Thank you. Thank you. Mike Greenspan, you keep taking time off me. Okay. Now, I got to go over this thing, tree removal, because back in the days when Kevin James was president of the Board of Public Works, we had a real soap opera over a tree removal issue on Cessna. Would you believe that thing had 3 hearings? Yes, 3 hearings. And it gets even better. Not the second hearing, but the 3rd hearing, they opened up the public comment for a second time. Oh, it gets even better about the Cessna tree removal in Granada Hills. They never sent a city employee out there to look at it. Now, I'm real hardcore on you guys. I don't believe just the city employees should go out to these sites. I believe you guys on the board should be going out to these sites, because you're making $100,000 a year and see what you're voting on. But to think, a tree removal had 3 hearings. On the 3rd hearing, I showed up and gave them directions how to get out there to Granada Hills from City Hall so they could actually go to the site. They ended up approving the tree removal on Cessna, but never did a city employee show up. Now, we could have had this gentleman, and it would not have bothered me, come up here first and give his presentation, but I sure hope we are sending out city employees, and it would be nice if it would be gravy if we'd even send out Board of Public Works members to not only tree removal sites, but to other things that have impact in the community. It's great to do things from a desk, but it doesn't get the job done. So not only send your city employee out and get this done in 1 hearing, but actually some of you guys go out there and start going out as your new members to the other sites too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Mr. Jamie Hall.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Hall. I'm a land use and environmental attorney with Channel Law Group. I'm here today representing Bruno Naylor. He is a resident on an adjacent property, actually owns several vacant lots right next to this property. I'm here. I submitted a letter. I hope you all received it. We believe that the city has not complied with CEQA. Let me just highlight some points. I can't possibly go through them all right now, but this project is located, well, actually the parcel itself is a sensitive natural community, which is designated by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And mitigation for a sensitive natural community does not take the form of trees alone. You must consider the area. And why do I know this? Because my client has commissioned a biologist to do a biological resource assessment for his property. So we know that the adjacent property is in a California live oak woodland and a walnut woodland, and you have to mitigate in the form of area. Again, mitigation in the form of trees alone is insufficient. I've litigated a case all the way to the Superior Court and have won on this issue. The other issue is the city has not consulted with the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, a state trustee agency. The city council specifically adopted a resolution requiring the city to consult with the trustee agency, specifically to determine the appropriateness of the mitigation. There's no evidence that the city has consulted with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife as well. And also there's evidence of piecemealing in this case. There is a substandard roadway. The parcel just before this one at 10455 Standell Lane is less than 20 feet wide. So the applicant needs to obtain a zoning administrator's determination. So the project description is inadequate. There's no evidence, there's no disclosure of the fact that that permit is necessary, and there's no evaluation of the impacts. There's additional trees that need to be removed. We're asking for a continuance so these issues can be evaluated. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hall. We also have your packet with us as well. We have 3 other speaker cards for in-person. I'm going to call you up, and that way we're all ready. Whoever gets to the microphone first, we have Bruno Naylor, Vanessa Fuchs, and Chris Parker. You can all line up behind this public comment speaker. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bruno Naylor. We live directly next door to the proposed project at 10453 Sandell Lane, which is located in an ecological sensitive habitat. We know that because we spent many years documenting the area with biologists and other things, and as well as oversight from Fish and Wildlife. So this lot has a large range of oak and walnuts all over the property, and is in one of the on the habitat linkage map from the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. It's one of the official corridors. We know that because we have pictures of the mountain lion, the bobcats, like some really cool species here. And so we just urge that the city require the owner to consult with the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy and maybe like a certified biologist, and hopefully this isn't a project that would be considered to be exempt from CEQA, because it would definitely have a significant impact on that area. We're losing a lot of those walnut woodlands pretty quick. So yeah, thank you very much.
Great. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Vanessa, and I'm also a neighbor of Sandell Lane. And my name is Vanessa. I'm also a neighbor of Sandell Lane, and I think that it's very important to try to preserve these natural habitats. We've worked very hard over just under a decade to try to preserve these lands and the trees, which brings us like all of the wildlife. It's like a whole ecosystem, and there has been laws that have been put into place for decades to try to keep certain balance, and it's sad to see that it's being chipped away little by little. And I think that, you know, we need the whole ecological and environmental balance between what we experience every day and being able to have our oxygen, our trees. So we're been working very hard with biologists, with teams from UCLA, students, to try to really like keep certain parts preserved. We could still build things. We're not being like extremely hardcore here, but there's certain rules that have been put in place that I believe as a neighbor should be put, forward. So yeah, these oak trees and woodlands are really, it's all very important. And I think that a lot of neighbors feel very strongly about this. And if we start chipping away these trees, what is going to happen next, where it's a whole ecosystem. Anyways, thank you so much for your time.
Next speaker. Good morning, Chris Parker, Pacific Crest Consultants. I'm the applicant's representative. The good news is that my clients actually believe a lot of what their neighbors just said. They also want to protect the trees. They also want to preserve the environment that's there. There are actually 9 protected trees on the property. And originally the plan was to remove 4 of them, but working with urban forestry, working with their licensed arborist, working with their architect to reduce their dream home down, we're now only asking actually for 1 tree to be removed on their property. The rest of the trees that we're talking about is actually on public property. These are in the right of way and they need to be removed in order to widen the street. This is the last segment of Sandal that needs to be widened in this area. The rest of Sandal is to current code and requirement. This hasn't been widened because it's a vacant lot and nobody's built before, but previous builders in this neighborhood had to improve the street in front of them. We're the last key, if you will, or the last Lego brick to widen the street. So what we're doing is we're listening to your Bureau of Engineering on what needs to be done to improve this street so that it's safe not only for my clients, but for their visitors and for their neighbors. And it just so happens, unfortunately, that there are some trees in this public right-of-way. So I think it's important to make that distinction and for this board to understand. My clients have actually done a lot. They've hired a lot of professionals to make the smallest impact possible on their property, but they're being asked by other city agencies to improve this street, to improve the safety in this area, and that's where the additional trees come in. We're going to plant 4 trees for every 1 lost for the protected species. Not only the 1 lost on my client's property, but also the 2 protected species that are in the public right-of-way. So those.
That is your 2 minutes. Thank you. Moving on to any virtual hands raised, Ms. Zatorsky.
Yes, caller Audit LA, you'll have up to 2 minutes on item number 4.
Okay, I prefer to hug trees than to chop them down. I'm glad I did get to hear these other public commenters. They did answer a lot of questions, but it's kind of a thorn in my side though, because they're coming here now and they're going to get an answer, but we've been coming here for months and we can't even get it on the agenda about also the public easement. And this is a comparison, Ms. Choi, that, there's an improper thorny vegetation. I mean, beautiful rose bushes, but on the easement, it's not BOE approved. And yet we've been asking to please have that removed. I mean, replant them somewhere else, of course. I mean, I know you can't replant these trees. I wish we could. But at least I do like that they are trying to, they're going to add more. But you have the funds or you have the willingness to do this. Why can't we do the public easements and fix that and with the planners too, all of it that we've been asking for months. So that's why it's a thorn in my side because we've been coming here begging for this. So I'm asking you to please put our concerns on the agenda. And as far as this, I really hate to see natural habitat trees go. Does the street really need to be widened? Is it absolutely necessary? And I'll yield back the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Our next hand raised is Phil. If you have public comment on item number 4, you'll have 2 minutes.
I just want to share voices of the folks that came as residents speaking out against this. I support them. And to summarize, basically what they're saying is the city is getting fucking served with another lawsuit. And I just want to point you to your own controller for the liability claims by department. All right, this is not my words. This is your own financial controller for the city of LA. The Public Works by far has around a 2x higher liability claim payout than the LAPD combined. Okay, the LAPD, one of the most notorious grifters and destroyers of the city budget, yet somehow the Public Works has managed to surpass that. This right here, what we're witnessing live, is why those liability claims for the Public Works are so sky high, surpassing even the LAPD. You're talking about protected species, and you're treating it as if it's just hearsay, as if it's some pie in the sky stuff. You're costing the city money. You are the reason why your own city is broke because of agenda items like this. Again, not my words, your own controller and even the LA Times, all data points that the city is outright broke. You got no money. And there's a gorgeous lawyer there who's saying he will come after whatever other assets are left. All right? He's not fucking around. And it's you guys that are doing this. Higher liability payouts and claims than the LAPD combined. That's what the Public Works has. And all these other protesters that come in and talk about Scientology. The one guy talking
Speaker,
about
this item is regarding tree
trees that are
removal at
destroyed.
10451
This
Sandal
is-
Lane.
This is, and you don't even have the authority to run the meeting, all right, Deputy City Attorney? You have no authority here. I've been through this
caller, she
before.
does.
2
We
minutes.
Showed up for
Thank you.
Caller, she does. As president, we've already announced that the city attorney will be making sure our public commenters remain on topic. And we'll go to the next hand raised on this item.
Amy, you will have 2 minutes on item number 4.
Okay, I'm going to expand on what Audit LA said. I think the tree should stay on that property or wherever the people in the neighborhood want, where they live, they want the tree to stay. The only reason why you would get rid of a tree is if it's going to fall on somebody, fall on someone's house, or if the roots are coming up and cracking foundations and sidewalks. And it's the same thing on L. Ron Hubbard Way, where the planters are cracking and causing undue pressure on the sidewalks and causing cracks. That Audit LA once got stuck with her scooter because of the reckless disregard of the law and them doing whatever they want, just laissez-faire. Maybe you think you can be like Scientologists and do what you want and just totally go against the will of the people. And it's just unbelievable that you do what you guys want with disregard. This is why this country was founded, totally negating the principles in which this country was founded on. It's a shame. Maybe take a civics course or do a refresher before the next meeting. Thank you. Bye.
All right, that is the end of our hands raised on Zoom.
Great. We had one more public comment card for this item. Jennifer Parker.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Parker. I'm with Pacific Crest Consultants. Thank you, commissioners, for allowing me to speak. I wanted to just submit as part of the hearing that some of the neighbors were not able to be here that wanted to support the project. So I wanted to read a letter from one of the neighbors who is actually going to be directly across the street from this project. It's Arya Derek Shawnee, and the address is 10480 Sandal. And he wrote, "Dear members of the Los Angeles Board of Public Works, I support street widening and therefore the required tree removal of 10453 Sandal Lane. My home is directly opposite to this new development, and I believe widening the street is a benefit to the safety of the neighbors and the community at large." So I thought that was important for us to share that with you all. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Seeing no more public comment on this item, we will close public comment on item number 4. Mr. Ramirez, if you'd like to proceed with your presentation.
Good morning, Honorable Board of Public Works. Again, Brian Ramirez with Bureau of Street Services, bringing before you a request for this board to approve a fee permit which is for the removal of 3 protected trees and 2 street trees, which include 1 Southern California black walnut, 1 coast live oak, 1 toyon, 1 jacaranda, and 1 silk tree for the construction of a new single-family dwelling and required street widening, and tree replacement is required. For this particular project, the applicant, Josephson Investments, is proposing to build a new 1-story, 3,036 square foot single-family dwelling with a pool on a vacant lot of approximately 5,469 square feet. The project site is within the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council community in CD5, and there are 11 protected trees and shrubs and 2 non-native trees within the public right-of-way. As it was previously mentioned, again, the request is for a total of 5 trees being removed. One of the trees, one of the coast live oak trees, is being recommended for removal due to grading, as it is within the footprint of the proposed single-family dwelling. And the other 4 trees are in the public right-of-way and are recommended for removal due to the required widening. As it was previously mentioned, due to the building hillside ordinance, this widening is required consistent with Bureau of Engineering's specifications. If these trees are approved for removal, the 4 15-gallon, these trees will be replaced on a 4-to-1 basis, which is consistent with our municipal codes and policies. 4 15-gallon or larger, largest size available Southern California black walnut trees will replace the trees removed. 4 24-inch box size toyon will replace the toyon that's removed, and 4 24-inch box size coast live oak trees are to replace the coast live oak tree that's being removed. Again, if these are approved, the tree replacements will be guaranteed, the survival of the replacements will be guaranteed by bond for a period of 3 years. And for the additional 2 street trees that can't be planted on site, the recommendation is that this board concur with the Streets LA determination that the site cannot feasibly accommodate all the required replacement trees pursuant to LAMC 62.177, and authorize the tree replacement guarantee fee to satisfy the board's tree planting requirement. As for the alternatives explored for these tree removals, it was stated here today that the intent was to preserve as many trees as possible. Our policy at Urban Forestry is to preserve trees whenever possible, and we only consider the removal of trees after all the alternatives have been explored. Impact was unavoidable for 5 of the 13 total trees, but there were 8 protected trees that are being retained throughout the construction of this project. So as for the California Environmental Quality Act, this project, including the tree removals, is exempt from CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines, Article 19, Section 15303, Class 3, and there is no substantial evidence that the proposed project will have a significant effect on the environment. The applicant obtained a report and submitted a report from Meridian Consultants to provide the findings in support of a categorical exemption, which was utilized in making the recommendations within this report. As it pertains to notifications, the public comments on this tree removal request were to be received and heard during the scheduled meeting. A physical notice was posted on the trees that were visible to the public on June 24th, 2024. The proposed tree removals were also included in the Bureau of Street Services tree removal notification system, informing the public of this hearing, and the removal details were made publicly available in the Streets LA website tree removal notification list page. This concludes my report, and I'm more than happy to take any questions that this board may have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. As a former citywide planning commissioner, nothing excites me more than planning cases and tree items bring out all of the great memories. Before we go to questions, I see your hand, President Pro Tem Grant. Just wanted to flag for the public listening and commissioners that the CEQA exemption report is in the packet in the agenda PDF page 65. President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you. Just a couple questions that I'm not clear on. One is, I believe I may have misheard, but I believe the applicant's representative stated that the original intent was to remove 3 on the premises, and they reduced that to 1. Did I mishear that, or is that what's being done?
That is correct. On the actual, within the private property boundary, there is the single tree directly in the center of where this proposed dwelling will go.
And then there's just 2 others that's on public property.
There are 2 street trees, but also within the right-of-way, they are native protected trees that fall within the public jurisdiction, the public right-of-way, which is why they're called the public right-of-way, but they are protected trees. They are being replaced at a 4-to-1 replacement on the subject lot.
And the second point is, can you speak to this obligation that's been referenced as to whether or not there should have been or should be consultation with the Santa Monica Conservancy?
The determination or the recommendation being made to this board for the categorical exemption speaks on the site conditions and why the exception applies. Also, the criteria that would qualify exceptions to the use of the categorical exemption. These were the findings presented, but to your question about consultation, I personally would potentially have to defer that question over to the applicants. It's my understanding that there was no consultation, and as far as the requirement to do this consultation, there is a brief excerpt I want to make note of here. Within the finding in support of categorical exemption, it was our transmittal number 7. It does speak about this project being within the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, and regarding this project not being within a habitat block for wildlife corridor, I don't see any information again regarding any type of requirement for consultation. But if that's something that's necessary, I may have to defer it to the applicant and the consultants here.
If I could interject, Mr. Ramirez, I think he's also asking, just for context, is it general practice to ask the MRCA for a consultation?
I would believe it to be so, yes.
Was there anything else you wanted to add to that, Mr. Ramirez? See you going through your notes. So I just want to make sure you get your response in.
No, that's
okay.
all that I have.
Back to you, President Pro Tem Grant. No more questions. Okay. Any other commissioners? Okay. I have. I hear the neighbors. Your input. Unfortunately, I'm satisfied. I mean, unfortunately for you, I'm satisfied with the CEQA analysis. It does seem to be exempt. Mr. Ramirez and his team seem to have followed all the protocols on this item. It is nothing out of the ordinary from what we've done in other similar cases. So if there are no other comments from commissioners, I will make a motion to approve, but to amend because I believe the address is wrong on our agenda item. So amend to 10453 Sandal Lane.
That is correct, and I apologize for missing that. The correction was from 0451, and it should be 10453 Sandal Lane. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second to my motion?
Second, Mitchell.
Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, there is a first from myself and a second from Commissioner Mitchell.
Great. We will take the roll call, starting with you, President Corson?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
No.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
We have 3 ayes. The item is adopted as amended and carries forthwith.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. We will move on to item number 5, another tree removal, this one in Council Districts 2 and 6. Tree removal in Metro East San Fernando Valley Light Rail Transit Project. We'll start with public comment. I'm looking at Mr. Greenspan because okay. Perfect, thank you. We'll move on to any hands raised on the virtual platform.
We'll start with Audit LA. You'll have 2 minutes on item number 5.
I'd like to do a time check before you start my clock, please.
You have, let me do a quick math.
Minus Ms. Troy's interruption because I was on topic.
You have just over 4.5 minutes.
Perfect, thank you. All right, tell me when to begin.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Grant. As I've said so many times, I appreciate how you stand up. I thank you. But here we are about trees again. And it sounds like really lovely trees are being, taken down. And I understand we need the light rail. I want the light rail. That light rail particularly will benefit me. But at the same time, what are we doing to make sure that the right trees are being replaced? Like, are we taking down really beautiful, lovely trees and replacing them with, I mean, all trees are beautiful, but you know what I mean? Are we getting, enough of what we're losing? Are you replacing it just as, in a beautiful way? And that's but my other topic is, again, the thorn in my side is, you get all these things on the agenda items for, okay, we want this tree down, whatever. But we've been coming for public easement issues as well, for removing improper, thorny vegetation and planters on easements. And we're being heard to some extent, but it's just like, okay, they're sending out a citation, but here you're really making the motions and moving, to get things done. And I want the same energy. I really am asking for that same energy, please, to get the will of the people done. You've been hearing for month after month, people coming saying, we want, please, help us get our easements over here fixed and improper vegetation removed. I mean, these trees aren't even improper. They're just minding their own business, but the rose bushes on a public easement were, that's improper. And we can't even get the will to get that fixed. So I yield back the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Next hand raised is Phil. You'll have 2 minutes.
I just want to say, of all the commissioners here, you, Commissioner Grant, continue to be a positive model. And I imagine it's primarily because you don't want to see yourself go to prison. All these shady tactics ultimately will likely end up with many of the other cohorts in prison. So thank you, Commissioner. I yield my time.
Thank you, Speaker. Our next speaker is Amy's iPhone. You'll have 2 minutes for item number 5.
I don't have any comment on this item. I have to leave the meeting now. I'm just, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. All right, President Corsan, that's the end of our public comment on the Zoom.
Great, thank you. Mr. Banuelos, if you'd like to proceed with your presentation on this item.
Yep. Good morning, commissioners, honorable board. My name is Hector Banuelos. I'm superintendent here with Streets LA Urban Forestry Division, and we have before us is a request for a permit to remove 13 trees for the East San Fernando Valley Light Rail Transit Project located in the San Fernando Valley in Council Districts 2 and 6. The project does actually touch also is in Council District 7 as well. However, the tree removals are only in Council District 2 and 6. This is one of several applications that we're anticipating on receiving from Metro regarding this project here. This request is for 13 trees. The trees are located on Van Nuys Boulevard. There are 7 Mexican fan palms and 2 queen palms located on center medians, and those center medians must be removed in order for the Metro to install the tracks along Van Nuys Boulevard. And there's also additional trees being removed for utility relocations as needed for the infrastructure to provide power and other necessities there for the light rail transit project along Van Nuys Boulevard. If approved, Metro will replace the trees with 26 24-inch box-sized trees and planted adjacent to Van Nuys Boulevard. They can't plant on Van Nuys Boulevard at the moment because of all the ongoing construction that is anticipated to occur along Van Nuys Boulevard. So the adjacent streets are going to receive newly planted trees at this time. And as the applications, we receive applications, the trees will continue to be planted along the adjacent streets and where possible along Van Nuys Boulevard. Right, so the trees to be removed are 7 Mexican fan palms, 2 queen palms, 1 Chinese flame tree, and 3 calorary pears. The Metro Board approved their own environment impact report. It was circulated and was approved, and we vetted through the impact report to ensure that all the tree removals were properly addressed within the report. We use that to base our analysis to compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. That concludes the report. I'm here to answer any questions the board or the public may have regarding the project and the tree removals.
Thank you, Mr. Banuelos. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Mitchell?
I'm aware that there is a 2-to-1 replacement of these 13 trees that are going to be removed. Is that correct, by Metro?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Is there anything, agreement in place to ensure that that does take place?
The agreement is with the conditions with the tree removal permit. We have staff that are tracking all the activity of Metro to ensure that the trees are replaced as soon as they can be planted.
Okay. Are you aware of whether all trees have been replaced with regard to the Crenshaw line?
As far as I know, all the trees were replaced as part of that project there.
And so this is an incremental project, so you'll be coming back to us as they go further down the line for some other removals as well, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
No further questions.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Mr. Banuelos, I think I missed it. When will these replacement trees be planted if they are not actually on Van Nuys Boulevard on the route of the light rail?
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
When will these 26 trees, when will they be planted since they are not on the path of the light rail?
We don't have a date as of yet, but we're anticipating they be planted as soon as they can, which may be within a few months after construction commences.
Okay. In general practice, when we grant, general practice, does not have to be this one, when we grant a tree replacement, is there a timeline within that agreement on a deadline on when they need to be planted?
Well, as soon as we require them to replant it as soon as it's appropriate, right? So a lot of the times the projects are being constructed, they cannot plant the trees because they'll be impacted by the ongoing construction activities. Or on this case here, there's going to be a lot of construction activity once they start. I believe they're going to be breaking ground beginning of next year of a lot of major construction. And so we're anticipating the tree removals the tree replacements are planted probably shortly thereafter. I'm assuming we're thinking about sometime in the middle of next year, maybe even earlier.
Okay. I mean, this is, Metro has said this project will go to 2032 for completion. So it's a lot of tree removals between now and then and a lot of tree planting. And they do come and give a report on a quarterly basis, Metro does, to our board. So Commissioner Mitchell, I mean, that could be a time when we also ask progress on tree plantings as well. Seeing no other questions, is a motion?
So move.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, we have a first from President Pro Tem Grant and a second from Commissioner Mitchell.
Great. We'll start the roll call starting with you, President Corsand.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful. All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 6. Mr. Gresham, before you begin, we'll take public comment. This one in all council districts, a request for approval, amendment number 1, Granicus LLC. We'll start first with Mike Greenspan.
Mike Greenspan. Yes. We're coming to the administrative stuff. I forgot to bring my Santa hat. Before Thanksgiving, and we're already celebrating Christmas. Well, who's Santa's lucky one this time? Granicus LLC, formerly known as Prime Government Solutions, and it's for meeting management systems. Why Santa's increased it from $180,459.74. Increased it by that from $327,470. Boy, we really to $507,929.74. Boy, what a jump. Why are we even keeping these government employees if they're not efficient and effective? Oh, I know, so they can gather more for their pensions in the nice, generous city of LA. If these independent contractors can do a better job, shouldn't we be replacing city employees with independent contractors across the board? And we'll just have you folks left as employees, and the rest will be independent contractors saving money for public works projects, make work projects, and everything else, stuff that's good for you and politically correct for your district so you'll get more votes. I just don't see why we're having both government and independent contractors. It's like we've got layer on layer, and things aren't getting done. I compared it once to these pyramid schemes that want you to pay $100 or $125 to get yourself investigated, and if 1 million people do that, they got $100 or $125 million with no product or service sold. What a scam. Let's get rid of these inefficient city employees and replace them with independent contractors that can do the work. Thank you.
We will move on to any hands raised on the virtual platform.
Yes, we have 2 hands raised. Caller Audit LA, you'll have 2 minutes on item number 6.
Yes, I'll make it brief. I wish the mayor would be just as eager to find an ADA coordinator. The city does not have one. Also, I believe there's not the actual head of a public works department that needs to be filled. And also I've heard that there's not enough money necessarily to do inspections with all the concerns that we bring to you. So can we, farm that out to outside help as well? Thank you. I yield back the rest of my time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is caller Phil. You'll have 2 minutes.
I'll pass.
Okay, thank you. President Corsan, that's the end of our public comment on item 6, I'm sorry.
Thank you. We'll move to presentation from Kevin Gresham.
Good morning, President Corsan, Vice President Chavez, President Pro Tem Grant, and Commissioner Mitchell. I'm here this morning to provide a brief overview of the request to approve the draft amendment between the Board of Public Works and Granicus, formerly known as Prime Government Solutions, and authorize 2 members of the board to sign and execute the proposed amendment number 1. The board office currently utilizes the Granicus contract for its meeting management and file hosting services, and to archive its meeting audio recordings, agendas, meetings, and journals. Circa March 2022, the board office originally selected Prime Government Solutions, now known as Granicus, to provide meeting management services for the board office for a period of 3 years. Since that time, Granicus has worked with the board secretariat to customize its systems to meet its needs. If approved, this amendment will continue to serve as the lone resource to offer broadcasting of all board meetings to the public, while also offering access to an archive of past meeting agendas, minutes, and journals. The board office currently has a budget to continue to provide the aforementioned services, including broadcasting, hosting, and archiving. Provided before you is the contract amendment requesting an additional 3 years and an increase to the total contract cost ceiling by exactly $180,459.74, from $327,470 to $507,929.74. The specific meeting management services include agenda automation, meeting management, video services using a high definition live stream, and on-demand access via the interactive agenda on the public portal, as well as automatic time stamping and indexing of our agendas by activating an item in the meeting viewer. This amendment is 100% general funded, and therefore the impact is no greater than $300,029.74 for the 3 additional year term. This concludes my report. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none. Just real briefly for those listening, this is an item that helps you hear us and access our agenda documents. So without this approval, you would be unable to hear what we're doing. So with that, I'll see if there's any motions from commissioners.
So moved, Mitchell.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, we have a motion from Commissioner Mitchell and a second from President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you. We'll start the roll call starting with you, President Corsand.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful. All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Great. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 7, which is an advisement on to approve and revise the board rules of the City of Los Angeles Board of Public Works. 1 second, Mr. Greenspan.
I'm just trying to save you some time.
I appreciate it. Ms. Zatorsky, I do know that we have some callers with hands raised on the Zoom. Before that, they speak, we may want to let them know how much time they have left. But first, we'll go to Mr. Greenspan.
Mike Greenspan, yes, we're going to change some rules. Well, what I mentioned earlier, why don't we let the people making the presentation speak first and let the public speak afterwards so we're better informed and we can maybe make a comment based on what we hear. Now, the Board of Public Works, oh yes, how long has Steve Kang been on this? And he's already absent. How long? Has he been here a month? No, not even a month. So we should be deducting the pay. When they don't show up, I mean, if the City Council right now is at a League of Cities convention, if you're at a Public Works convention, we probably, should cancel the meeting. But if only one member is there, it's considered an excused meeting. But other than that, if we're going to be changing the rules, I heard something from the people that have been participating with, and it's about we're going to be reduced to 3 minutes of speaking. We need to have more than 3 minutes. We get to speak. Public comment 2 minutes, 10 minutes on items. There's 18 items here. I get to speak on, 5 of them? Unless, of course, you increment minute here, half a minute there, minute here, minute and a half there. But it's not even set up to speak on all items. And so don't take away our time. We pay lots of money for these services. What do we get for them? Very little. It's the contracts that are great. Oh, yeah, we exist for the others. And cutting down our time, you know what I think of that? It sucks a dick like this one. Yes, folks, you want to cut down our time? This is what I think of it. It sucks a big dick. You really want to take our time away, but you sure take our money fast enough.
All right, we'll go to our callers on the Zoom platform. Caller Audit LA will go to you first, and you do have 2 minutes and 48 seconds remaining for the 10-minute time limit. So you'll have 2 minutes for agenda item number 7.
Yes, I'm very disgusted with this one. I'd like to know who proposed it. To be honest, you remind me right now of the Scientology. They want to get rid of protesters, so what do? They put all these illegal things all around their compound so there's no protesters. So what are you doing? You know there's a protest, okay, right now, and we're asking for change. There's been little granules of help and change, but that came after months and months and months of coming here and protesting in a civil way. And now you want to take that away because you want to take away the power of protest. But what if a neighborhood council, they want to have 10 people come one day and speak, and then you have, you're taking away from the people. And the other man is right. You take the money fast enough. We have to submit our money fast enough. You guys are paid. You are able to sit there and let the people speak. It's not like city council and the police commissioner where there's like 100 people and they really maybe don't have 24 hours to listen to all 100 people, and that's why they require those time limits. But here, I think the maximum I've ever seen is maybe 8 to 10, at most. And even that's look today, what you had 5 and then 1 in person, and then that one, it's not. There's no need to change anything, and I think it's wrong, and it just sends a very bad message because you're doing it because of protest. So there, it's not like this was done when it's just under regular circumstances. You're doing this because you have a certain amount of people calling. They're upset about what's going on with Scientology. They're voicing their opinions. You are making some leeways, like the permit now is only from Friday to Monday. So there's some changes. They're sending out notices for the illegal stuff they're doing. You're sending out maybe an inspector here and there. So, but that came from how many months of us being able to speak? Okay, and there is no need to change it. It's unfair. It doesn't serve the
Thank you,
public. It
Speaker.
serves
That's
you.
2 minutes. Next caller with their hand raised is Phil. You'll have 2 minutes for item number 7.
I just want to give some context on this particular agenda item. It comes right in the heels of another item that was proposed in City Council, specifically trying to make it unlawful to protest, specifically in front of any government official and religious building, and making it a criminal offense that is possible to be jailed. And that came directly in the heels, thanks to, again, public memos through CPRA records, that collusion of Mayor Karen Bass, specifically to suppress this free speech of protesters, and they used some of the UCLA riots, which specifically happened by paid actors, to incite violence. And now, yet again, we have, thanks to memos internally, with this board of Scientology having its hands trying to suppress the people's time and free speech. Now, I want to particularly petition to 2 commissioners on this board, especially Commissioner Grant. I know you don't want to go to prison. We see the light in you. Do the right thing and vote against this. And you too, Commissioner Corson, I know you don't want to go to prison. Do the right thing and vote against this. This is just absolutely insane. This is literally absolutely insane. And I'll add this too, all right? I'll add this too. Nobody here wants to go to prison. And if us as protesters have to eat some jail time to make a point of how disgusting this agenda item is, I know I'm personally willing to go to that length. And if I have to show up either outside or near the neighborhoods to protest for this, I will do so. Don't go to prison, do the right thing, and vote against this motion. You know it's wrong, you know it's messed up, and we, the public, know that there's collusion between Bass and Scientology deliberately trying to set this agenda item up. Do the right thing. Don't go to prison. I yield my time.
Thank you, Speaker. That's 2 minutes. We do have one more hand raised on the platform. We'll go ahead and call on them. Caller with the name TT, do you have commentary on item number 7?
Yes.
Great, you'll have 2 minutes.
All I can say is shame on you for even considering this. Strip the public's voice. Maintain your corruption. I yield my time.
Thank you, caller. Our next hand raised is Gigi's iPhone. You will have 2 minutes for item number 7.
Yes, so I'm hoping that you guys can take some more time to consider this, even if it's just another week, if you could push this back and really think about everything that what everyone was saying earlier about how the person presenting the thing should speak first and then public comments. That's a really good idea. And we've actually seen it in practice here a few times, and it's run much smoother that way. And that's not even included in the rule change. So I think that there should be more thought behind changing the rules when the public is speaking about one huge thing that could be changed, and y'all are just glazing over that and then trying to limit our time speaking. So I hope that maybe you guys could push this off even just a week and think about it a bit more. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, caller. All right, President Corsan, that's the end of our hands raised on the Zoom platform.
Thank you. We will close public comment on item number 7. Ms. Zatorsky, if you'd like to proceed in the presentation for this item.
Great. All right. Before you, commissioners, we have item number 7, which is the item before you is to approve the revised board rules for the Board of Public Works. These were held on Monday, or were held the item on Monday, November 4th. The board held this item, and it is now here to be approved as revised, and with the acting executive officer to publish the board rules in a daily newspaper in accordance with the city charter.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, commissioners? Commissioner Mitchell.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge the comments of the speakers with regard to the order in which the presentation is made. It does make sense to me that the presentation is made and then we go to public comment with regard to whatever the item may be. So I'd like to offer that as a change with regard to, or actually an amendment with regard to the rules as published, or not as published, with regard to the proposed rule changes.
Thank you. I think that we don't need a rule amendment on that. We can do that going forward. Since we've already, as a general practice, not done that today, we can start that with Friday's meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Mitchell.
Thank you. We have a motion from President Pro Tem Grant and a second from Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you. All right, we will take the roll call starting with you, President Corsand.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Okay, all ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Okay. We're at 11:42. We're going to take a 5-minute break instead of at 11:45, and then take up the second half of the meeting. And just as a notice, we were just notified during this meeting that item 18 will be continued. All right, everyone. We'll get back to the meeting. It is 11:55.
And let's quickly reestablish quorum at 11:55 a.m. We have President Corson, Vice President Chavez, President Pro Tem Grant, and Commissioner Mitchell all present. We have a quorum. Okay, go ahead.
And as I had mentioned before we went on break, item 18 has been continued. That happened during the earlier part of the meeting. We will now go to item number 8, which is a Bureau of Engineering item in Council District 5, a contract award to Access Pacific. I don't believe we have any public comment cards for the room. Do we have any hands raised on this item?
We do have one hand raised on Zoom. Caller Audit LA, if you would like to provide public comment on item number 8. You have 48 seconds remaining of your 10-minute limit for the meeting.
I want to save my comment for item 16 unless the public's allowed to make a point of order or clarification without their time being spent.
Okay, we'll come back to you on item 16. Thank you. All right, that's all our hands raised on the Zoom.
Great. With that, we'll proceed with the presentation.
Okay. Good morning, commissioners. My name is George Huang from the Bureau of Engineering. I'm a senior civil engineer, and the item before you today pertains to a contract award to Access Pacific for the Mid-City Low-Stress Bicycle Enhancement Corridor project. The project is a federally funded project. It was advertised on March 22nd, 2024, and then bids were received on May 22nd, 2024. The project is located in the Mid-City to the Hollywood area. The project includes new mini roundabout, bicycle accessible diverters, which are sort of like the bike, kind of like bike lanes at the intersections, sidewalk, curb extensions, curb ramps, and then mountable curbs. And then there's also landscaping components that are involved with the median islands that we will be installing on the project. There's a lot of the intersections will have new traffic signal modifications to accommodate some of the bike diverter improvements that are going to be installed, along with trees as well. And then the project, the city engineer's estimate was 2.9 million, and then with the bid amount of Access Pacific was 5,028,170, which is about 71% higher than the city engineer's estimate. Because this is a federally funded project, there is also a disadvantaged business enterprise (DBE) program that is required of the bidders, and that's calculated based on the dollar amount of certified DBE subcontractors that can perform the work in the project, divided by the total construction city engineer's estimate amount. So that amount was 21% was the DBE goal for the project, and the Access Pacific was able to achieve about 61%. And then there were a couple items that that the Bureau of Contract Administration had noted as part of this bid review. I have with me here a representative from the Bureau of Contract Administration who can kind of speak on recommendation number 1 and 2 of the report.
Good morning, Board President, Commissioners, Executive Officer, City Attorney, Bureau Reps. I'm Mark Gutierrez, Senior Management Analyst, Contract Administration, Office of Contract Compliance. Just to clarify quickly, Access is a DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise themselves, and their pledged amount is 68.98% on the project, well in excess of the DB goal. I'm here to speak on specifically recommendations 1 and 2. 1 is to find Transmittal 1 to be unmerited, as discussed in this report. Secondly, find that the late submission of the Exhibit 15G form by first low bidder Access as an inconsequential deviation that did not give them an unfair competitive advantage, also as discussed in this report. So starting with one, Transmittal 1 is a protest by the second low bidder, who was Excel Paving Company. Essentially, they protested two items in terms of what Access bid. First, that they did not list an electrical sub in their bid, which amounts to 44%. They initially listed a sub, but deleted it and did not replace it. And by takeaway, if they didn't list a sub, the prime must self-perform that work. Excel added that Access does not have a C10 license to perform said work and therefore shouldn't be awarded the project. Their second protest item was that they did not list dollar amounts for two other subs. And that is, according to them, failing to list dollar amounts might allow them to bid shop for a better, cheaper sub. And that's obviously after awarded a project. To do that would be in conflict of the Subletting and Subcontracting Fair Practices Act, commencing with Section 4100 of the Public Contract Code. Further, they added, if a bidder can self-perform highly technical trades, such as electrical, by simply hiring a few laborers, the bidders will just pay an electrical contractor labor on time and material, eliminating the rule and spirit of the contractor licensing system. So my office reviewed that protest and found the following. First, in regards to not listing an electrical sub, in review of their bid, we did find that they did list an electrical sub, International Line Builders, acronymed as ILB, listing them for a total amount of $1,539,730 on their Exhibit 12B form as part of their bid. And we also verified that ILB does possess an active C10 electrical license. Secondly, in terms of the claim that they didn't list subs with dollar amounts, we found that they in fact did, as you'll see on page 4 of the report. They listed 3 separate subcontractors, Cat Tracking, Excalibur Plumbing, and ILB, as well as their corresponding dollar amounts on the Exhibit 12B form as part of Access's bid. Since Access did list both an electrical sub and subs with dollar amounts, staff's recommendation is that their Excel's protest be found to be unmerited. Our second recommendation regarding the late submission of a required Exhibit 15G form, that's covered on page 5 of the report. There's a form called the Exhibit 15G that prime bidder is required to list DBE subs as well as corresponding dollar amounts with a deadline date of 5 calendar days after the bid. Typically, bids are received on Wednesday, making that form due the following week, Monday. So to give you guys dates, the 5 calendar day deadline on that form was May 27, 2024. We verified that they submitted it on May 28th, 2024, 3:19 p.m., which is 1 day late. So we sent them a fail letter saying that our recommendation would be that you're non-responsive for failing to meet that deadline. Their response to us, Access, was that their failure to submit the form was due to May 27 being a public holiday, Memorial Day. So we reconsidered our recommendation via contacting Caltrans. Caltrans advised us that acceptance of the May 28 submission 1 day late was acceptable and that the deadline of May 27th fell on a holiday. We also consulted the city attorney who advised similarly that it's acceptable 1 day late or 1 day after the holiday. With those two advice from both city attorney and Caltrans, our recommendation then is to accept the Exhibit 15G form and view it as an inconsequential deviation that did not give Access an unfair competitive advantage. So that concludes my report on those two recommendations. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion? I'll make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Mitchell?
Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, there's a motion from myself and a second from Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you. We will take the roll call starting with you, President Corson.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to everyone's favorite part of the meeting, approving AFEs so we can pay people we owe money to. That will be items 9, 10, 11, and 12 will go in order because we can't take them together. So they're, unfortunately for number 12, they'll have to wait longer to get paid. We'll start with item number 9, an AFE for Southern California Edison Company in the amount of $85,000. Ms. Zatorsky, do we have any hands raised on this item?
We do have a hand raised, but I believe Auta LA is saving her time for item 16.
Okay, with that, we'll close public comment on item number 9.
Hello, board members. My name is Jennifer Lee. I'm with LA Sanitation's Clean Water Conveyance Divisions. I'm here to seek approval for the authority of expenditure for Southern California Edison in the amount of $85,000. Our division operates air scrubbers and flow monitors, flow monitoring stations throughout the city. And while most of our facilities are under DWP service area, we do have facilities in the neighboring Culver City, which is subject to being serviced by Southern California Edison. This encumbrance will pay for electrical services at those facilities. The $85,000 represents the same amount that we encumbered last year. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioners, any question on this one? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve item number 9?
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Mitchell.
Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, there is a first from President Pro Tem Grant and a second from Commissioner Mitchell.
Great. We'll take the roll call. President Corson?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell?
Aye.
All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Thank you. Moving on to pay Southern California Gas Company $922,000. This is item 10 and CD 11. Ms. Zatorsky, do we have any virtual hands raised?
No.
Okay, closing public comment on item number 10, and we'll proceed.
Good afternoon, or it's noon yet. I'm Nicole McIntosh. I am a process engineer at the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant. I'm seeking approval for the AFE to pay for our the gas usage from the Southern California Gas. The amount would cover the gas for the heating of 2 of our office buildings, as well as our standby process boiler and a portion of our cogeneration facility, which is hooked up onto that same gas line. The expenditures are based off of previous years' expenditures with increase for inflation.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any comments or questions on this item? Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
We have a motion. I'll second that. We have a first from Vice President Chavez and a second from myself, Ms. Zatorsky.
Great. President Corson?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye, for real.
For real. President Pro Tem Grant?
I second
And Commissioner Mitchell?
Aye.
Great. All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 11 in Council Districts 11 and 15, an AFE for Southern California Coastal Water Research Project in the amount of $460,000. Ms. Zatorsky, do we have any hands raised on this item?
No, we do not.
All right. We'll close public comment on this item and proceed with the presentation.
I had good morning written, but good afternoon, Mr. President and Commissioners. My name is Stacy Carnia. I'm the Biology Section Manager in the Environmental Monitoring Division, and I'm here to request the approval of the AFE for $460,000 for a rapid method study conducted with the Southern California Coastal Water Research Project, also known as SCWRP. Fecal indicator bacteria are used to evaluate recreational water quality along the shoreline daily, as elevated levels of bacteria have been associated with illness in multiple epidemiology studies. While culture methods have been shown to be predictive of health risk to bathers, they require 18 to 24 hours to produce results. This delay between sample collection and public notification not only leaves bathers unknowingly exposed, but also delays removal of signage when exposure risk has abated. Molecular methods have for measurement of bacteria, such as digital PCR, can significantly reduce delays in public notification and facilitate same-day water quality advisories. Development of this rapid method is the closest to real-time data to protect public health. The need to develop a rapid method came to light after the 2021 Hyperion overflow event. Use of rapid molecular methods has been demonstrated by a recent study at beaches in San Diego County. However, PCR has only been approved by the EPA and California for use in San Diego, which they are currently using. This study will measure the concentration of Enterococcus using PCR at beaches in the city of Los Angeles and statistically compare the data to identify an equivalent concentration to the beach action values, which this data is shared daily with LA County Department of Public Health and NGOs such as Heal the Bay and LA Waterkeeper, who use that data for beach report cards. During this study, LA Sands EMD will work with SQUIRP, but ultimately EMD staff will be trained in measuring Enterococcus using digital PCR and conduct an inter-laboratory comparison with SQUIRP to ensure method correspondence, after which LA Sand will be able to perform this method in-house. The study began in fiscal year 23-24, which this AE request covers, and started with the development of the work plan, selection of sites, and samples collected, filtered, and stored for analysis. The study is currently estimated to be completed in December 2026. Thank you, and I can take any questions.
Commissioners, any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, I do have one just to clarify. This was for the period between July 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2024, but the work will continue until 2026. Is this covering any future portions, or is this just past portions?
This is for the portion for 23-24. We'll have a new AFE for the 24-25 current
Okay.
fiscal year that we're in.
And could that become sooner than 4 months after
Yes, sir.
the end? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there a motion on the table for this one?
I'll move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Zatorsky. There is a motion from Vice President Chavez and a second from Commissioner Mitchell.
Great. We will take the roll call, starting with President Corson,
Aye.
Vice President Chavez,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant,
Aye.
and Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful. All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 12, which is in Council District 6, 11, 13, and 15, an AFE for the State Water Resource Control Board in the amount of $40,310. Any hands raised on this item, Ms. Zatorsky? Seeing none, closing public comment on item number 12. Let's see how soon we can pay this last bill for today.
Good afternoon, President Coastland and all commissioners. It was really my privilege to meet all of you yesterday. I felt I'm closer to you today than yesterday because it was a very good meeting. Yeah, I am Mahesh Pujari, and I am Division Manager of EMD, Environmental Monitoring Division. To keep brief my briefing, we have 4 laboratories, and this is for compliance of NPDES permit. It is National Pollution and Elimination System permit, which is a permit is issued jointly by US EPA and State Water Board. In order for City of Los Angeles to operate with the permit compliance, our laboratory has to be certified by State Water Board, and we have to report the data based on their certificate monthly, biannually, annually. So there are many reports you have to go. And I'm asking here your support to pay the annual fees, like it is paying for the driver license fee or state fee. So I'm asking your permission to pay the fee so that we keep our laboratory open and we'll comply with the NPDES permit. I'm ready for questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion on the table?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Zatorsky. There is a first from Vice President Chavez and a second from Commissioner Mitchell.
Great. We will take the roll call, starting with President Corson,
Right?
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell?
Aye.
Wonderful. All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Thank you. Moving on to administrative items, item number 13 and 14. I believe we don't have a presenter, but we will still need to take a vote, so we'll take them individually. Item number 13, in all council districts, the mayor and city council have approved and authorized the Board of Public Works on behalf of the Bureau of Sanitation on contract administration to execute the proposed personal services contract between the Bureau of Sanitation and Hitachi Energy USA for software maintenance of BOS Ellipse and related products and integrations. I will make a motion to approve if there's a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Satorsky. It's a first from myself and a second from President Pro Tem Grant.
Great. Roll call. President Corson?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell?
Aye.
All ayes. Item carries forthwith.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 14. Also in all council districts, the mayor and city council have approved and authorized the Board of Public Works on behalf of the Bureau of Sanitation and Contract Administration to execute the proposed personal services contract between the Bureau of Sanitation and Gatekeeper Systems for software maintenance of BOS field automation for sanitation trucks, application, and related navigate products and integrations. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So there is a first from myself, Ms. Satorsky, and a second from President Pro Tem Grant.
Great. Roll call. President Corson?
Aye.
Commissioner, Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell?
Aye.
All ayes. Item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Moving on to our oral reports. I think Mr. Ramirez, oh, there you are. Mr. Banuelos will present on item number 15, a city trees update.
Yes, good afternoon, President Corson and Commissioners. Hector Banuelos here with Streets LA Urban Forestry Division. This is a semi-annual oral report for the urban forestry activities and goals that we had for last fiscal year, 23-24, and for the upcoming, or the current 24-25 fiscal year. In December of 2023, the Bureau completed our data collection for a tree inventory, which acquired information on 917,000 sites, of which include 662,000 live trees within the inventory. That's all part of our tree management system here that we use currently within the division. The division also assists or performs work and various other assisting other departments, and I'll go down the list here. The Bureau, or actually the division, received about over 36,000 MyLA 311 requests, which consist of 17,900 tree emergencies, 8,363 requests for inspections, 9,733 tree obstruction requests, and 926 violations of various sorts of tree trimming activities without a permit and tree removal, illicit tree removals violations. The average emergency initial response time is 1 day, and the final cleanup is less than 3 days. This includes rain and wind events. The goal is always to maintain the outstanding service equitably throughout the city, consistent with staff and resources. Tree trimming. The division targeted goal was to trim 45,000 trees for the fiscal year 23-24 across all programs, including discretionary funds. The Urban Forestry Division met and exceeded our tree trimming goals and trimmed 48,953 trees. We also do tree and stump removals, dead trees and structurally unsound trees. The urban forestry is actively engaged in removing dead, dying, diseased trees and stumps prevalent citywide. The division set a goal to remove 2,000 trees as met our goal. We exceeded the goal actually last year in removing 2,381 trees across all programs. The division also oversees landscape medians, the maintenance of landscape medians throughout the city. We're maintaining approximately about 10.5 million square feet. All work is performed by contractors. Earlier this year, the division awarded 4 contracts to 2 different contractors. These contractors are performing at acceptable level at this time, and the contractors are expected to be renewed beginning of sometime the first quarter of next year. The executive directors and land development, the division also assists and is engaged with the mayor's office in implementing and supporting the executive directive number 1, which is expediting of permits and clearances for temporary shelters and affordable housing types. Executive number 3, emergency use of viable city-owned property. We also assist in overseeing the permitting relevant to those city-owned properties. And executive number 4, identifying barriers in small business creation, development, and growth. Our division also supports that endeavor of the executive directive number 4 and the executive directive number 7, which is streamlining and accelerating home or housing production. With these endeavors, Urban Forestry Division processed a total of 2,588 clearances relative to trees, performed 483 inspections, assisted in issuance of 296 permits, and about 1,497 requests are still pending, but those are being reviewed and are awaiting customer response and action in order for us to move forward. The division also assists in tree planting and watering. Currently, we are watering approximately over 9,000 trees, newly planted trees that came about through various city entity programs, just as Bureau of Engineering capital improvement projects, and our own design build and our own proactive tree planting projects throughout the years. We are planting, the city is funded to plant about 2,000 street trees per year, of which last year we planted 1,899 trees with a shortfall of about 101 trees due to weather events and also the staffing shortages, right? So the division also assists the Bureau of Engineering with the citywide sidewalk repair program. In collaboration with the Bureau of Engineering, all work combined, 3 CLA crews trimmed and root pruned approximately 159 trees, removed 12 trees, and replanted 26 trees. In addition to the Urban Forestry Division arborists, also inspected and assessed 55 rebate sites and 562 access request locations. For next fiscal year, or actually this current fiscal year for 24-25, the division is programmed, or the goal is to trim 40,000 street trees, to remove approximately 900 dead, dying, diseased trees, and to remove about 900 stumps throughout the city. And we're planting about 500 trees this year due to staff shortages. That concludes my oral report. Any questions from the board?
Thank you, President Grant.
Thank you for your report. I have a couple questions. One is at the first emboldened point, tree inventory. You list 900,000 sites with 600,000 trees. Were there 300,000 dead trees? Or why is the difference between the number of sites, the number of trees?
Yeah, it's 662,010 live trees.
Right.
Yeah, it does include the dead trees, but there are several.
But there were 900 sites, so what are the other 300?
The vacant sites, there's over 200,000 vacant tree sites
vacant.
as well, yeah, throughout the city.
Okay.
Right, the vacant tree sites could be tree wells, big parkways that can feasibly accommodate new street trees.
Okay.
For future tree planting.
Second question is, your numbers for this year were impressive, and some 45,000 trees that were trimmed, some close to the or 2,300 trees removed, yet the projections for the next year is less. Some 5,000 less trees to be trimmed and a number of less trees to be removed. Why the reduction?
There's hiring freeze.
Pardon?
The staffing shortages.
More than was in the previous year?
We're just having a difficult time filling vacancies.
Okay.
Yeah, due to the hiring freeze.
The third question is, the projection is a number of new trees to be planted. Where are they going to be planted?
Various parts of the city. We're trying to plant the trees in the areas of most need of shade, disadvantaged communities, and just trying to make it as equitable as we can.
Right. If it just wasn't even across the board, it's based upon need or equity, if you will. That's correct.
based upon the needs and the,
An equitable distribution
yes,
of canopy.
equitable distribution of canopy.
Good questions. Any other commissioners with questions or comments? Commissioner Mitchell.
I had the opportunity to meet with David Miranda and his team before I came on board at a tree trimming location on Jefferson. And it was commendable that what my concern is sometimes, especially with lane closures, sometimes it's not tapered off further enough in advance so that the car traffic can actually make those adjustments, like get out of the lane and move over when there's a lane closure. So I commended the team with regard to that effort. Also, there was no hacking of trees. I have this thing about, we're going to trim trees, we're going to do it the right way as opposed to just hacking so we can just get rid of some of that canopy. That canopy still has to look a certain way as opposed to, we got the amateurs out there. So these were all city staff, and it was good to see the work that was done in a professional way. What I explained to Mr. Miranda at that time and also to Mr. Jackson, sometimes we have these great canopies and these sycamores have been there for a long, long, long time. And I've had just in my immediate area where I live, 2 trees where the branches have fallen just by the weight. And recently, one of those trees had another incident. We're talking in the last 6 months. I know we can't anticipate when that happens, and I understand that we have an inventory of trees so that we know when we went out to trim them. We know when we went out and had an emergency. But if you have a second emergency and there's another long limb out there that looks like it may fall down, does the staff have the discretion to take that down, or does it depend on whether we use outside contractor?
Well, currently we have no funding for contracts. And as well as we don't have the proper staffing to give the trees the proper care, unfortunately, right? Right now, the funding and staffing shortages, we're trimming about 40,000 trees a year. We have about 662,000 live trees in the city. If you do the math, it's going to equate to about 17, 18 years before we trim a tree again after we trimmed it initially. All right, so unfortunately, we just don't have the capacity to be trimming trees at request as much as we'd like to. I mean, if you give me the address and we can take a look at it on the street there, but we'll try to see what we can do. But we're just so significantly short-staffed and limited resources to trim the trees. Once every 5 to 6 years would be ideal. But unfortunately, we're doing it once every 17, 18 years, which is not the ideal cycle.
And when is our next job fair?
A job fair and
I mean, what are we doing to try to fill some of those slots? I know everybody probably lost some slots as a result of the budgetary issues, but do you have enough?
We're limited on we just need the authority to hire, to get more crews, or funding to hire more contractors. Some of the, I know some of the advocates don't like contracts, but as you may know, hiring is not just one day to the next. It takes several months, if not years, to acquire all the staffing and equipment to do work by city staff.
Okay.
If we really want to jump on things, get things done really quick, it's contracts.
Okay.
At this time.
All right. Sounds good.
Another good question. Thank you, Commissioner Mitchell. President Grant, you had your hand raised.
So as I understand, we would need to treble the amount of trees trimmed a year to bring it back within the recommended guideline for tree trimming. Is that correct?
That is correct. And they trim over 100,000 trees a year.
Yeah. Thank you.
No other questions or comments. Thank you, Mr. Banuelos, for the report.
Welcome. Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 16 from Bureau of Sanitation. Daniel McKay presenting on bulky item pickup and drop-offs, and we do have a hand raised on this item.
We do have a hand raised on the Zoom. Thank you for raising your hand. Caller Audit LA, you have 48 seconds remaining of your 10-minute time limit. So you can-
Okay, thank you. This is about bulky trash, and I would like to request Mr. Espindola, who I know works for contracts, to please get a contract going. No money to the city, but just do a contract with private people who will be glad to do it to remove these darn bulky trash planters on L. Ron Hubbard Way and Fountain Avenue. There's people that will be willing to work with the city. We're not asking for a dime. I bet even you could get people to do tree trimming, whatever. Why don't you try to utilize and get volunteers, make it a contract, make it a party, and let's get things done in the city. And also, real quick, I don't know how much time I have left, but thank you for changing the thing of the order for the meetings. But you just took away our ability to speak after, the events. So how's that going to work? We all have to speak up front now. We get 3 minutes total.
Thank you,
so we
Speaker.
can't
That's
speak
the
after.
remainder of your 10 minutes for the meeting. Thank you very much. All right, President Corsan, that's the end of our public comment on item number 16.
Thank you. We will close public comment on item number 16. Mr. McKay, if you want to continue with the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, President. Congratulations on your appointment. Good morning, everyone. New commissioners, I'm Daniel McKay. I'm Bureau of Sanitation Collection Manager. We roughly run about 80 crews a day to collect bulky items citywide. That's RCTOs with a few MLs included. For the fiscal year of 23-24, we picked up a total of 29,000 tons. The Valley collection picked up 11,790, and the South collection picked up 17,300. The e-waste totals were 538 tons, 150 tons for the Valley, 388 tons for the South Collection Division. The white good totals were 1,625 tons, 550 for the Valley, 1,075 for the South Collection. We also have a bulky item drop-off program that runs once a month at the East Valley location, West Valley location, the Harbor location, the West Los Angeles, and then South LA and North Central are combined into one at our Clark's transfer station downtown. So altogether, we collected 1,189 tons for the fiscal year 23-24. We had 3,500 customers, and we had 3,500 items, I'm sorry, and we had 1,694 customers participate in the program. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. McKay. That written report, could you also email it to Ms. Zatorsky so she could share it with us as well? Commissioners, any questions or comments?
So, seeing that the commissioners are new, we'll come back and do a full collections status report because we handle all of the collection of household organics, green waste, recycling. We have roughly 750,000 curbside customers. So we handle a lot more than bulky items, but that's all this oral report called for. But since you're new, they probably should enlighten you on all that.
Well, thank you. All right. Thank you for the report. We'll move on to item number 17 from Miguel Zermano from the Bureau of Sanitation for landfill closure update. Before you begin, let's just double check. We have no hands raised.
No hands raised on
No
this.
hands raised. We will close public comment on this item. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Board President Corsan, board members Chavez, Grant, and Mitchell. Welcome to the board, and we'll be reporting to you in the future. City Attorney, Executive Officers, Bureau Representative. My name is Miguel Zermano. I'm with Los Angeles Sanitation and Environment, and the Division Manager for Process and Construction Division that oversees all the closed landfills that the city owns. I'm here to give you an update of what's been going on and how we manage those landfills. The city owns and maintains 5 closed landfills. That includes the Lopez Canyon, the Toyon Canyon, Bishop's Canyon, Gaffey Street, and Sheldon Arleta landfills. All landfills are in post-closure and maintenance and partially and completely converted to passive community recreational areas, meaning that we're either make them into a park or we develop soccer field, soccer fields, baseballs. However, all the landfills will continue to monitor and inspect by sanitation staff for methane emissions, soil settling and erosion, and groundwater quality. We provide quarterly and annual reports to the AQMD, the State Water Board, the local enforcement agency under CalRecycle. We have on-site probes to detect any potential methane emissions to make sure that the people that use those closed landfills are safe and they're not in any hazardous conditions. I'm going to give you a brief overview of each of the status of each of the landfills. I'm going to start with the oldest and move forward to the last one that got closed back in 1996. The oldest landfill that sanitation oversees is the Gaffey Street landfill, which opened in 1955 and closed in 1963. This landfill is located in Council District 15. The address is 1400 North Gaffey Street in San Pedro, California. We only service for 8 years. It's in a 30-acre lot, and it took only less than 1 million tons of material. Currently, this site has been upgraded in terms that there's under the state, it doesn't emit enough methane. It's clear, and we developed soccer fields in 2002, which the community uses, and it's overseen by the AYCO in partnership with Parks and Recs. We also have in that district, we also have a community garden known as the Los Angeles Community Garden Council, where they have, and it's not exactly on top of the landfill, but it's adjacent, where you have gardeners. We have 220 parcels where people can come in and rent a little parcel where they can grow fruits and vegetables. So it's a positive to the community. Next one is Sheldon Arleta landfill, closed landfill, which is in Council District 6. The address is 12455 Wicks Street in San Valley. This particular landfill operated from 1962 through 1975, about 13 years. It's in a 40-acre lot, and it took 5.5 million tons of material. Also, this particular parcels is being converted now into a recreational complex known as the Cesar Chavez Recreational Complex, and it's on its third phase, where the design is completed, and they're going to begin building the last phase, where they're going to build a baseball field, basketball courts, and picnic areas. The next one is Bishop Canyon landfill. This particular landfill is located in Council District 1. Its address is 929 Academy Road. It operated from 1966 through 1963. It only operated for 3 years. It's in a 45-acre lot, and it only took 1.7 million tons of trash. This particular area, in 2000, we also developed, we constructed baseball fields and a playground, and people can go ahead and just do recreation and barbecue. It was upgraded about 5 years ago, where we regraded some of the baseball fields just because there was a little bit of settling, so that got repaired. So we're in this particular landfill, because it's not that old, we'll continue to monitor for any methane emissions out of that particular one. And then we come to Toyan Canyon Landfill. It's in Council District 4. Its address is 5050 Mountain Hollywood Drive in Griffith Park. It is in Griffith Park in that area. It operated between 1957 through 1985. It actually operated for 28 years, and it's in a 100-acre parcel, and it took more than 16 million tons of material. This particular landfill, it's still active. It's still generating methane. We do have a gas collection system that we monitor at least twice a week, that we go ahead and try to make sure it's operating. We do have flares in that particular landfill. We do flare some of the methane, and because we used to have a power plant, but the quality of the methane or the gas that is being generated, it has a very low quality of methane. It's about 32%, which is not, it needs a lot of clearing it to make sure you can bring it to a higher percentage of methane. However, we do have a company there who is running the old power plant, which is a 1 megawatt, and they producing energy, and that it's being transmitted to DWP. So they do make some revenue, that particular company. The name of the company is Three Phase. So we're monitor that particular landfill very closely. And lastly is the Lopez Canyon Environmental Center landfill, which is in Council District 7. The address is 11950 Lopez Canyon Road in Lakeview Terrace. It's about 300 acres, the area, and it operated from 1970 through 1996, about 26 years. It took almost closely to 20 million tons of material. This particular landfill, we have a gas collection system. It's producing about 3 megawatts of energy for about 2,000 homes every day. So it's still very active. We do have about 70 staff at that location, just because it is a very large area, and we normally continue to monitor, and it's still a little bit active where we do get some methane coming through the ground, so we're constantly repairing that, and that's part of the post-closure. In addition to that, we also, in that particular area, because it's about 300 acres, we're using about 20 acres for the Lopez Canyon Environmental Center, where we do, which is a green waste processing facility, is where we produce our compost material. So we take some of the green waste, no food in it, just green waste from private landscapers. They bring it there. There's a fee that we charge for them to bring it there. We process, and then we make mulch and compost, and that's what we distribute through our 11 giveaway sites. So people take advantage of that, and we give the mulch and compost. It's free. People can go ahead and take that. In addition to that, at Lopez, we have a helipad, which basically we work with the fire department. We have a 1 million gallon up on top that it's always ready to go, where the fire department can come in and they practice to land their helicopter. And anytime there's potential fires, they come and fill their helicopter, and they go ahead and help put fires that it's around that vicinity. All right, and also what we do have for the community, we continue to have community outreach. We have a couple of the Lakeview Terrace Neighborhood Council, and then we have Cagle Canyon communities. We every 6 months they come, and we have in-person meetings, and we show them around. We take them around so they can see what activities is going on at Lopez. So we continue to keep that relationship open with the community. And that lastly, we do currently right now, as part of the beautification of that closed landfill, we're working on the Lopez Canyon green space. It's an old park that's been upgraded to make sure it's in compliance with ADA, and it currently We started that construction back in the summer of 2023. We expect that to be completed within the next 3-4 months, and it's going to be it's very beautiful. My staff is working on that, and with that, that concludes my oral presentation. Any questions?
Great. Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? I know you have a written report, but I think all of this information is on the sanitation website if we look up the landfill sites, commissioners. So in public, you can find it there.
Okay.
All right. With that, we have continued item number 18
To December 11th. We'll continue it to December 11th for the
to
record.
December 11th. And don't see any other business. Ms. Zatorsky, have we cleared our desk?
Yes, President Corsan, that is the end of our agenda items today.
Great. It is 12:45 and we are adjourned for today.